Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to day 15. This is the Great Minds Teacher Lesson. You are going to be hearing some of me and some of Mrs. Foley, or maybe all of me. I haven't really decided yet, but I guess it'll be a super secret surprise, and you'll find out as you go along. So, the last couple of lessons, we've just really been focusing on different members of the Nez Perce tribe and their differing beliefs and values, and the things that they say and do, and what that shows us about what they believe in and what they value most. So we're going to keep doing some of that work today. So we need thunder rolling in the mountains. We don't need handout 18B today, but you will need it tomorrow. You do need your in-sync journal, and then you also need let's see, I said in-sync journal, and then that will be it for today. So chapter 6, chapter 7, chapter 8, the map, and yeah. So just go ahead and get your book and open up any of the materials that are within your Schoology folder for today. So our essential question is, how do cultural beliefs and values guide people? And if you notice, we have really been answering that a lot in this focusing question task arc. Okay, we've focused on the Nez Perce and the U.S. government, and then we focused more on the Nez Perce tribe itself and the different people within that tribe. So Chief Joseph, Sound of Running Feet, and the Redcoats so far. So our focusing question is still, what important beliefs and values guide Chief Joseph and his daughter, Sound of Running Feet? So let's just go ahead and we're going to read chapter 6, and I want you to listen along as I read. And what you might want to do, and that will help you as we move on in 18B, is I would like for you to just be taking notes of things that Chief Joseph says or does, and things that Sound of Running Feet says or does, that show us what they believe in and value. Things that we can add to our handout 18B. So what I've been doing along is I've just been using little post-it notes and putting them on the pages where I find something that I think would be beneficial. If you don't have post-it notes, you could use a notepad and just write down on a piece of paper the page number that you have found something on for each of those. Okay, so let's go ahead and read chapter 6 together. So if you do not have your book and you would like to follow along with me here, on our ELA tab on this banner right here, you have all these things that you can click on, but you can actually click on the book for the digital copy. So that's what I'm going to do so you can follow along in my text. What you'll notice is it'll show up here. I'm actually going to open it. You can follow along right here, but let's see, I think I might open it just so I have more screen to work with. Okay, and we are going to start on page 30. So if you are following along in your text, I'd like for you to get to page 30, and I am going to do the same. It's chapter 6. Oh, I went too far. Okay. Now, we were on the far side of the snake, and Chief Joseph took command of our people. We climbed out of the dark canyon to an aspen grove where the herds were allowed to graze. Then we set off toward Lapway, our new home. Now, just a little side note, if you remember, we left off in chapter 5 where Springtime had her baby, and they finally, Chief Joseph, Sound of Running Feet, and Springtime got into a bull boat and were crossed, and they crossed the Snake River to the other side. We went to the Salmon River and crossed it safely because we had crossed the mighty Snake already. At Rocky Canyon, we camped beside a pond surrounded by aspen trees. 20 suns had risen and set since we crossed the big river, so that's 20 days. Lapway is near, Chief Joseph said. We can reach it with a short march and obey General Howard. But before we go, there will be songs and dances, horse races, and games to mark our last days of freedom. Everyone agreed with him, especially the young warriors. The feast days were loud with the hoofs of racing horses, the nights with the throb of drum and the soft cries of... Ooh, let me figure out how to say that. Okay, boys, so what I just did is I came to a point in the book where I did not know what this word was. So I Googled, I said, pronounce flageolet. And I listened to it. And we'll do the same.
Flageolet.
Flageolet. Okay, and then I looked up what it was. Okay, so I clicked the definition. So a very small wind instrument resembling a recorder, but with 4 finger holes on top and 2 thumb holes below. So it looks a little bit like this. So if you come to a word that you don't know, you can do the same.
Flageolet.
There you go. So let's see where we left off. Everyone agreed with him, especially the young warriors. The feast days were loud with the hoofs of racing horses, the nights with the throb of drums and the soft cries of flageolets. On the last day before we left, there was a parade of all our clans. The horses wore beaded harnesses and their finest saddles. Colored streamers fluttered from their manes and tails. I didn't go to the parade. Bending Willow, my new baby sister, was sick, and I stayed to help Springtime take care of her. I had built a fire to make a kettle of coos mush. Night shadows lay on the meadow where we were camped. When Swan Necklace rode up to the fire, braids of his long hair hung wild around his face. He opened his mouth but couldn't speak. "What has happened to make your tongue go to sleep in your mouth?" I asked him. "War," he stammered. "War!" He wanted a drink of water, and I brought it. "War? What war?" "With the white soldiers. Waleed started a war." "What do you mean? How can one boy start a war?" "Waleed was riding fast through the camp, having fun with red moccasin tops," Swan Necklace said. "By accident, his horse stepped on some coos roots that belonged to Sour Tongue, who never has a good word for anybody. The old man shouted at him. 'See what you do, playing like a brave. You ride over my woman's hard-worked food. If you are so brave, why do you not kill the white man who killed your father? Or are you happy just riding your dead father's horse like a child?' The old man spoke the truth," I said. "That's what Waleed has done, riding around like a child." "He rides no more," Swan Necklace said, "not after the insult. Crazy, he jumped down from his horse and was about to kill the old man. Ferocious Bear took his knife away and threw him to the ground. Listen, you saw all this, or someone told you? They made up a story and told you." "I was there, and I saw it. I saw Waleed lying on the ground, crying. Suddenly he jumped up and rode off and came back with his rifle. Then I heard him scream, 'Watch, you'll see I am not a child playing warrior. You will be sorry for your words.' He fired once in the air, then galloped away." "Waleed rode off alone?" I said. "Not alone. Red Moccasin Tops and I rode after him. We caught up with him at the shack where Lariat lived. The door was locked. We broke it down, but Lariat was not inside. Then we went to Richard Devine's place. He's the one who set his wild dogs on any of our people who walked by his house. He once murdered a Namipu who was crippled and could not walk. He will kill more of us. We surprised him. Never had one of the people entered his house. Waleed shot Devine with his own gun." "You helped him do the killing?" "No, not Devine. I was outside holding the horses, but together we killed another white man who had whipped some of our people with a whip that had an iron tip. And we would have shot the bootlegger Sam Benedict if his bride hadn't begged us to spare him." Swan Necklace was suddenly calm. "I need more bullets," he said. "I had a pouch full hidden away under the bed in my father's teepee." "Give me all you have," Swan Necklace said. "There will be much fighting." "Don't do any more shooting until Chief Joseph comes back," I said. "He's gone off to hunt with his brother. He'll be back today." "You don't know when he comes back. Things won't wait. Those who need killing will get on their horses and get out of the country like the white man Ott who killed Eagle Robe." He drank half the water. I brought him and held out the rest for me. "Drink," he said. "You look pale as a fish belly." I drank the water. Swan Necklace had changed. He was fierce for war. If I'd had a guardian spirit, I'd have thanked it on my knees. "Bullets," said Swan Necklace. Beyond the lake, I caught a glimpse of my father and Ollicott in their black eagle blankets, riding slowly toward our camp. Swan Necklace saw them too. "Hurry," he shouted. "My friends are waiting." "They're also out of bullets. We have powder, but we need bullets." My father and Ollicott rode at a gallop. They had heard the news of a killing from someone. "Hurry," Swan Necklace shouted again. I ran fast to the teepee, took the bullets from their hiding place, and hung them on his shoulder. They weighed him down. Chief Joseph and Ollicott came out of the trees and up the trail. They galloped to where we stood. They looked grim. "We have heard that you have killed white men," Ollicott said to Swan Necklace. "We did," he answered. "We killed 2. "Killing I feared," Chief Joseph said. "It's what I have fought against since the beginning." "It's war," Ollicott said. "A war we cannot win," my father said. He pointed a finger at Swan Necklace. "Remember this, young warrior. None of the soldiers will be scalped, not one. Remember this yourself and tell what I say to your friends." Swan Necklace tried not to flinch. He was standing beside the 2 most powerful men in the tribe. His carbine was stuffed under one shoulder. He looked like a soldier, but I think he wanted to run. Warriors had gathered at the lake and built a fire. 2 Moons rode among them, leading the roan horse that had belonged to one of the white men. He called to his son. He held a red jacket above his head. Swan Necklace rode to his father's side. He took the jacket and put it on. Then he took his rifle. A cheer went up. "It is time to fight," said 2 Moons. "We will be children no more. We will never go to Lapway," Ferocious Bear said through closed teeth. "Let the soldiers know. We will kill them all." Women began to take down the teepees. Our camp was unprotected, and the soldiers would soon be upon us. "No," shouted Joseph. "Let us stay here until the army comes. We will make some kind of peace with them." But no one listened. Whoa, that was intense, wasn't it? Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. Give me 1 second. Okay. So our reveal today, and I'm sorry this is a little blurry, but what does a deeper exploration of the map in the novel reveal? So we talked about this in the very beginning of this book, that there is a map on the first couple of pages, and it looks like this. So if you notice over here, we have Wallowa Lake, or Wallowa River, Valley of the Wandering Waters. Okay, and we know that from here, this is, on this side is where Sound of Running Feet's mother, Springtime, has her baby, and then they all cross the river over here. Okay, they go up here and they cross Salmon River, and they get over to this side here. And now they're almost at Lapway. They're almost at Lapway, and that's kind of where we are right now. Okay, I want you to think what happens at the beginning of chapter 6, just as the tribe has almost reached Lapway. How does this event change the course of events in the novel, sending the tribe south from Lapway and beginning the route of the Nez Perce represented on this map? So let's just go back and look at that really quickly. Okay, so the route of the Nez Perce is here. So they go down and they start to come up here. Okay, they are turning around. Well, that's next, I'm sorry, but they're almost at Lapway. And this is where they start the route, my bad. So I want you to think about that question, and in your in-sync journals, I want you to answer this. What happens at the beginning of chapter 6, just as the tribe has almost reached Lapway? And how does that event change the course of events in the novel, sending the tribe south from Lapway and beginning the route of the Nez Perce represented on this map? Okay, so pause the video to do that and come back when you're ready. Okay, so now let's talk about the events in chapter 6. So, led by Walidites, some of the young Nez Perce warriors kill 2 white men who had murdered and beaten Nez Perce people in the past. This event causes war to break out between the Nez Perce and the soldiers. Knowing the soldiers will come after them, the Nez Perce turn back from Lapway and head south toward the Whitebird Canyon. So, sorry. A little tickle in my throat. So they were almost at Lapway. They had spent 20 days traveling from Wallowa Valley up to Lapway. They had crossed 2 rivers to get there. And then these warriors, redcoats, these boys had gone off and killed these 2 white soldiers, and now they needed to flee, and they were no longer going to Lapway. So, the next 2 questions I want you to answer in your in-sync journal. How does Chief Joseph react to the news of the war? Why does he react this way? Go ahead and pause this video and answer those questions in your in-sync journal. Okay, so now what we're going to do, now that we're done answering those questions in our InSync journal, I want you to scroll down in your InSync journal a little bit to the Notice and Wonder chart. And we're going to go ahead and read chapter 7 and 8. It's just about 10 pages. And we're going to make sure that we're flagging any points that we want to add to our handout 18B. But let us go to our book here. Okay, so we know in chapter 6, it ends with Chief Joseph not being happy. He's basically saying, no, we need to stay here, we need to make peace, and no one listens to Chief Joseph. So here's where we are. Page 36, chapter 7. That night, our warriors were called. The old men and women packed their few things. At night, we left our camp and started south for Whitebird Canyon, the home of the Whitebirds band. At dawn on the 5th day, we came to the crest of a canyon of brush and rock. This was Whitebird Canyon, a place where we could stay while we decided whether to fight or flee. We knew the land and our chiefs thought it was the safest place to camp. If the whites follow, said Tahuhulsut, we hide and shoot them down as fast as they come. Streams ran through the big canyon. Water trickled against stone walls. Beyond us, on the cliff, we posted a warrior to watch for the soldiers. All that day and all that night we waited. My father did not sleep. At the first gray light, a scout rode into our camp. Soldiers coming close, he called. Many soldiers. So a scout is just somebody who's like a lookout. My father rose swiftly. He spoke with the other chiefs. We must not shoot first, he said. Maybe they come with good hearts. Alacott agreed. That is something I'm absolutely bookmarking for 18B. The chiefs sent out a truce party. 5 warriors rode to meet the soldiers. One of them carried a white flag to say that we did not wish war. The young men waited on their horses, hidden behind the buttes. From our camp we heard a bugle, then a rifle spoke. The lone shot echoed against the stone walls. There was a long silence. Then the sound of guns. A warrior rode into a streak of daylight on the crest of the canyon. He waved his bow above his head. War! He shouted. The soldiers fired on our white flag. So if you're noticing here, if you're wondering what's going on, the Nez Perce sent 5 warriors to basically say, we don't want any trouble. We are, surrendering. Here's our white flag. And they shot at them. So the U.S. soldiers are angry and they were shooting at them. Okay, let me find my spot. I'm sorry. Here we stand, Alacott shouted. We go no farther. First we die, then we die again. Alacott, with his good plans and bravery in battle, was our most cunning chieftain. Chief Joseph disagreed. We should hide until night and then slip away. There are too many soldiers. They will kill half our family. My father always thought of his clan first. There were not many of us. So I am going to bookmark that. Alacott divided the warriors and sent them along the hillside. I watched them go, dodging behind the huge stones. I watched Swan Necklace. He rode with the other redcoats, no longer afraid to fight. My heart beat proudly. I wanted to ride with him. Instead, I took a group of children into a sheltered place beside the creek where we could play games and forget the bullets flying on the other side of the butte. We held contests to see which ones could hold their breath longest. I smoothed half a flat rock, and some of the boys spun tops, making them dance across its surface. Red Owl, Alacott's son, started a game of wolf. He pretended to be a wolf, and the other children pretended to be calves who had strayed from their mothers. He crept behind the bushes along one side of our sheltered place. The other children pretended to be grazing while they waited for his attack. But Red Owl did not burst out of the bushes to frighten the others. Time passed. I moved quietly to the bushes and looked over them. There was no one to be seen. Red Owl was gone. I put one of the older girls in charge of the little ones and began to look for him. I knew he had left to watch the battle. Red Owl had seen only 7 snows, but he itched to be with the warriors. I climbed the butte, lying on my stomach. I looked across the battlefield. Horses were running in every direction. I saw one horse, its saddle stained with blood, dragging a blue coat whose foot was caught in the stirrup. Crossing a low ridge in the distance was Red Owl. 5 horse lengths in front of him lay a dead blue coat. Beside his outstretched hand was a shining bugle. I called Red Owl, but he did not stop. He wanted the bugle for his own. As he reached for it, our warriors mounted a charge. They rode past the bugler, and Red Owl was lost from view. Heedless of gunfire, I flew down the butte. When I reached Red Owl, I dropped to the ground beside him. He had taken cover behind the bugler's body. He was afraid to move. So many bullets struck around us that my eyes smarted from the dust. As our warriors' bullets and arrows found their mark, the battle moved away. The shouts and gunfire grew faint. Red Owl raised his head and grinned at me. The bugle was clutched tightly in his fist. Got to my feet and grabbed his arm. My heart still beat fast. "Foolish child," I said, as my fear turned to anger. "You will be the death of us." His face grew solemn, and he was quiet as we walked back to the camp. He would not be so boastful in front of the others. It was bad enough that the children would admire Red Owl's daring. I did not want them to copy his pranks. At last the battle ended. We were badly outnumbered, but Alikot drove our warriors. He made them believe that they were truly fighting for their lands and lives and gods. None of our people was killed, and only 2 warriors were wounded. By nightfall, we had forced every blue coat to flee, and 34 white soldiers lay dead upon the ground. There would be more battles with the blue coats, Chief Joseph promised. They will follow us. We cannot hide. They will find us wherever we go. Looking Glass said that we must cross the mountains and travel to the land of the crows. Howard could not bring his big guns over the mountains. We could live in peace with the crows and hunt buffalo. The other chiefs agreed. My father was not happy. "This is your fight, not mine," he said. "I will look after the women and children and old men. You must keep the soldiers away." We left the Whitebird Canyon and the beaten soldiers. I felt like singing. My pony stepped lively through the grass. Flowers were blooming under the oaks and huckleberries. I rode in the gray dust with the children behind all the old people. I made a doll for my baby sister with a piece of a soldier's shirt. The youngest Joseph, nephew of old Joseph, had found a soldier's knife and was chasing Red Owl. My small cousin had a pair of soldiers' heavy boots and asked me to cut off their tops and make a purse out of them. Beside me rode Whitefeather, who had watched me shoot the copper pan from the white woman's hands. She was a year older than I. "Are you pleased?" she asked. "The warriors have won, and your father has lost." "I am pleased," I said. "We have beaten the bluecoats. If they follow us, we will beat them again." There was a whoop from the children. Young Joseph had caught Red Owl and was sticking him in the chest. I took the knife away from him, and when I came back, Swan Necklace was riding with Whitefeather. My pony fell beside them. "Were you frightened?" I asked Swan Necklace. "Just at first," he said. "Then I knew that my guardian spirit would keep me safe." Waleeds and Red Moccasin Tops rode beside me. We charged the soldiers. Two Moons and the other warriors followed. Many of them had only knives or bows. His eyes sparkled as he told me of the battle. "The bullets sang like bees around us, but no one was hit," he said. "We hung to the side of our horses where the bluecoats could not see us and shot from beneath the neck. Our guns and arrows found their mark. The soldiers stopped shooting. The horses went wild and tossed them on the ground. They dropped their guns and ran for their lives." I clapped my hands with joy. "I have plenty of bullets now," said Swan Necklace, "and all the warriors have rifles. The soldiers won't need them anymore." Okay, that was chapter 7, and that was intense. So that was, and if you go back to our map here, I'm just going to go here. If we go back to our map, I just want to show you, that was the Battle of Whitebird Canyon on June 17th. So they kind of came across here. Let me actually draw on here. Hold on. I'm sorry. Okay, so we start here. We kind of cross up here, then we cross up here, and we're almost at Lapway. Then they come back down here. Battle of Whitebird Canyon. Okay, so that's kind of where we are right now. Now we're going to go on to chapter 8. You should be noticing and wondering, okay, as we go along. And I just realized I did not turn the page at all for that, so my apologies. I was very into the book in my hands, so I'll read on the screen now. We fought the white soldiers again on the banks of the rushing Clearwater. This time any bluecoats died, and we lost 4 warriors. 6 other of our young men were hit, but only one had a bad wound. A soldier's bullet went in the back of his shoulder and came out through his chest. He was shot when he rode his horse close to the bluecoats to show he was a brave man, but he was strong and continued to fight. More than a moon, or a month, had passed since the battle at Whitebird Canyon. The soldiers still followed, but we moved fast. So fast we had to leave our cattle behind. Looking Glass took us out of the valley and high into the mountains. We traveled toward the rising sun in the country of the Crows. The way was hard. Spruce, hemlock, and pine grew close. The trail was narrow and dark. It twisted up the steep mountainside. Boulders choked the path, and sharp rocks cut the horses' feet. Trees felled by spring storms blocked the way. At night we camped. We lived on roots we dug from the ground and bark we peeled from the trees. When cooked in water, the bark made a soft mush that filled the stomach. Some nights we went to bed hungry. The ponies grazed on the bushes and stiff wiregrass. 5 of our warriors stayed behind to scout the back trail for soldiers. The redcoats scouted the trail ahead. My heart was with them, but I helped dig roots, pound bark, and care for the children. Bending Willow now smiled when lifted from her cradle board. It rained every day. As we neared the top of the pass, the path grew steeper. Here it was so narrow that we had to get off our horses and lead them. We pressed against the mountain, moving slowly along the edge of the cliff on a carpet of pine needles. Far below us a stream wound between rock walls. The trail was slippery, but none of our ponies stumbled. At last we reached the summit and started down the other side of the pass. The rain stopped and the sun came out. We reached a place beside a creek where hot springs came out of the ground. Steam rose from the rocks. Where the water boiled out, it was so hot you could not keep your finger in it. We bathed in shallow pools below the rocks where the water was not so hot. We stayed in the water until we could no longer bear its heat. Then we ran to the creek and plunged into the cold current. The water washed away our weariness. That day our teepee stood in the high grass. Bushes that grew here made good tea, and we gathered leaves to take with us. There were so many fish in the stream that we called it Salmon Creek. We would have a good meal that night. Water lilies grew in small ponds nearby, and after I washed my hair, I twisted a white flower into each braid. I thought the lilies would make a pretty design for moccasins. As I thought about where I could get some soft deerskin and porcupine quills, the redcoats rode noisily into camp. Waleedites drew up beside the men who were mending bridles. "Soldiers in front of us," he said. He was out of breath and had to rest between words. "Building fort. They will head us off." Swan Necklace rode to my side and slipped off his horse. "There is danger," he said. He drew me close to him. "The soldiers know our camp. They have drawn logs across the trail so that we cannot pass. They are building a fort. We may have to fight." "This time I will fight too," I said. "There are many guns now. I know how to shoot." Swan Necklace shook his head. "Your father would never permit it," he said. "Fighting is for warriors." He forgot that only 2 moons ago he had been a painter and I had possessed the gun. He never spoke of his colored earths now, and he had not painted on our marriage blanket since we left Wallowa. "Fighting is for those who would stand against the white soldiers," I said. Ooh, sounds like a good one on 45. Before I could say more, the chiefs had left the camp to meet the soldiers, taking the redcoats with them. Looking Glass, Whitebird, and Chief Joseph rode in front. My father carried a white flag. Swan Necklace, red moccasin tops, and Waleedites followed behind, in case the bluecoats opened fire. It was dark when the peace party returned. The people crowded about them. They heard how our chiefs had stepped off their ponies and walked up to the barricade with empty hands, leaving their guns on their saddles. The soldiers were surprised at their courage, and no one shot at them. "We told the chief of the bluecoats that we had only friendship for the people of Montana," said Looking Glass. The firelight flickered on his strong face. "Our quarrel is with the soldiers in Idaho." The white captain shook our hands, but he told us we must lay down our guns and give up our horses. So basically what they're saying is while they were still in Idaho, which is where Wallowa is, that's the bluecoats, the U.S. Army that that fought them. But now that they've crossed over into Montana, they're saying, hey, we have no problem with you. In Montana, we only bring friendship. And now these soldiers, U.S. Army, is saying, you must lay down your guns and give up your horses so that we know you're serious about not fighting. The warriors began to mutter. I will never give up my gun, shouted Two Moons. He sat on his war horse looking ready for battle. Never, said Tuhuhulsut. He struck the earth with his war club. We did not want this war, but we will not let the bluecoats take our rifles and horses. I agree, said my father. We cannot do that, but their leader promised no one will attack us if we keep the peace. I advise that we go without talking more. There is a way, said Looking Glass. Once we get past the soldiers, we are free to go into the valley. Before the sun rises, we will be gone. We ate quickly, then made ready to leave this peaceful spot. We took the buffalo skins from our teepees, but left the poles behind to lighten the load. Cooking fires were smothered, coals raked, and earth heaped over them. The long line of horses moved away from Salmon Creek. We climbed the steep hill on the northern slope of the canyon, went around the soldiers, and soon were high above the barricade. Trees screened us, but the bluecoats saw us pass. They did not speak, but they did not shoot either. The war was over. Okay, so here's where we left off, the Battle of Whitebird Canyon, and then we come up here, and it is the Battle of Clearwater. Sorry, I'm going a little off here. Anyway, we cross over into Montana, and this is kind of where we leave off. Okay, somewhere around up in this general area, the land of the crows. But we know we're in Montana because there's this dotted line down here to separate Idaho and Montana. Okay, and obviously they say the war is over, but what looks like it's coming for us in about a month? Yeah, Battle of Big Hole. So it is important to kind of keep track on this map to know, this is where we are continuing and that maybe the battles aren't necessarily over. Okay, so we need to talk about a summary here. So, because we're going to be summarizing these couple chapters. So a good event summary uses concise language to tell who was involved, where and when it happened, what happened first, next, and after that, and how it ended and what happened as a result. So that kind of sounds a lot like our story map that we used on 19A, but we're going to be writing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to summarize the major events. So we're not doing this in small groups, obviously, because we are remote. So you're going to use the map and the novel to summarize each event in 3 to 4 sentences, okay? So this is a big ask of you. So, I'm sorry. Your job is going to be to summarize what happened at the Battle of Whitebird Canyon. You're going to summarize the Battle of Clearwater. That's the beginning of chapter 8. And then you're going to summarize what happened in the weeks following the Battle of Clearwater as the Nez Perce crossed into Montana. So the rest of chapter 8. Okay, we're not going to put them on the sticky notes. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to go into your InSync journal, and there is a box there for each of them, and there is an example there for you. So go ahead and pause the video. Sorry. And I want you to keep in mind, you're telling me who was involved, where and when it happened, what happened first, next, and after that, and how it ended and what happened as a result. So I'm actually going to have this in your InSync journal for you to use, and you are going to go ahead and summarize these battles. So when you're ready, you can go ahead and press play and continue on with the rest of this video. Okay, here we are. We are going to add to our handout 18B. Again, how do I gather and elaborate on evidence to prepare for focus and question task 5? So I want you to think about what details about Sound of Running Feet or Chief Joseph stood out to you in chapters 6 through 8. How do these details offer clues about the character's beliefs and values? So I just want you to think about those questions because we are going straight to handout 18B, and I want you to add into your next row one for each, one for Chief Joseph and one for Sound of Running Feet. Okay, and I am going to give you a hint right here of some of the evidence that I found, at least the page numbers I'm going to give you. Okay, so on page 37, I found one for Chief Joseph. I actually found 2 on page 37 for Chief Joseph. And I found one for sound of running feet on page 45. Okay, so you may have found others, but you might want to take a look at page 37 for Chief Joseph and page 45 for sound of running feet. Please make sure that you have the context and the elaboration and your evidence. Okay, so pause on this screen, and when you're ready to continue on, you can press play. Okay, so the very last thing that you have to do here, is your day 15 question set. 20 just means that normally we have different lessons that they're not by the day, so this would have been lesson 20 if this were a normal year. So there's only 4 questions. The last one is worth 3, so please keep that in mind. You need to read this text, okay, from Thunder Rolling in the Mountains. And then you'll answer part A for this one, number 1, then part B for number 1. It's the same passage every time. And then 3, okay, there's one answer here. And then for number 4, select 3, highlight this, select 3 key events that belong in a summary. Okay, so read all of them and then pick the 3 that you think are best. Click review and then finish. Don't pay too much attention to the score because I will probably have to go in and manually grade number 4 here. Okay, so today you have, between this whole lesson, you have your InSync journal, you have adding to handout 18B, you have your question set. Okay, and when you are done and you have completed all of those things, you are done for the day, and congratulations, that was a very long lesson, covered over 2 days, and you did it. Way to go.